Well, hello, gang. This is part 2 of the questions, and I really like this. Okay, I challenge you with Josh's poll from another thread. What are your 10 essential jazz albums? Well, I'm really bad with that. I would say Miles Davis, Kinda Blue, Jazz Winds from a New Direction, Hank Garland, Moonlight in Vermont, Johnny Smith. It's a tough question for me. I don't remember all the titles. Oh, okay. Mingus live at Carnegie Hall, Perdido, with all the saxophone players. There's one by Roshan Roland Kirk that solo just is incredible. That's all that comes to mind right now. Anything by Tal Farlow from the 50s. Bill Evans. The one with Alice in Wonderland on it. Oscar Peterson. Anything by Oscar Peterson. That's all that comes to mind right now. Okay. That was from Tamir. Okay. There are more than 10 albums. Okay. Oh, okay. I just answered that. Okay. All right. I'm trying to improve my fingerboard knowledge. For example, targeting the thirds. Do you instantly know every interval and every key, primarily by note name? Yeah, I do. I know the names, I know where they're at, and I know the sound. And how do you do that? Practice. Unfortunately, it's the answer to a lot of your questions. Targeting any note is great for learning the fingerboard. Also play a chord and be able to name every note in the chord. Okay. I'm going to play an A minor 7 here. A, G, C, E. Okay? You should be able to do that with any chord. B flat, E flat, G, D, F. E flat major 9. Okay? It's another good way. All right? It just takes practice, and it's something that you could practice without the guitar. I used to do a lot of that just by, thinking about it, and you get real good at it, I remember as a kid in school, I'd be listening to the teacher and practicing something in my mind, You can do it. It's a skill. And all you got to do is just start doing it. And you get better and better and better at it. Okay, let's see. I have a question on something which I find a little bit challenged in trying to get more horn-like phrases on the guitar. Do you pick every note, or are there rhythmic phrases you use where you hammer on or pull off to get that? Yeah, sometimes I do some hammer-ons, pull-offs, I don't necessarily think of it as horn-like phrasing. If I hear a tenor player playing, I just try and duplicate it on the guitar. I don't think about it that much. I really don't, I just try and imitate it, and let's face it, the guitar is never going to sound like a tenor sax. It's just not, So do whatever you have to do to imitate the sound. Example. I just try and imitate it, There's a little bit of Stravinsky in there. Anyway, there's a guy you should listen to. Okay. Yeah, let's see what we got next. Oh, you ever tune your guitar to anything other than standard tuning? Alternate tunings. I'm not a big fan of alternate tunings. I have done this, low D, but beyond that, no. I'm not a fan of that because I find like too many open strings, gets very, very monotonous, and it all starts to sound the same to me. And I find it really annoying with, over and over and over and over and over again, Johnny Smith used a low D, and I do sometimes, but he fretted that. He played notes down there, So no, I'm not a fan of alternate tuning. Okay. All right. Bass fiddle player. What can you suggest on playing in a duo? A little bit about your gigs and meetings with legends like Johnny Smith, Hank Garland, Frank Sinatra, Dave Brubeck. Okay. With a duo, you have a lot of harmonic freedom, just guitar and bass, and you realize the importance of a bass player because no matter what you play on top of the bass note, the bass player is defining the harmony, no matter what you do. And I think it's great practice, and it allows a lot of freedom, and I think it's a terrific idea to do that, and also learn how to comp for the bass player, play soft, don't overplay, a little bit here and there, two-note chords. My bass player, Craig Thomas, he likes it when I play like Freddie Green, softly, and he solos over top of it. He really enjoys doing that. So I say keep doing it. It's terrific, okay? All right. If you had to pick a few recordings that we should all transcribe, what would they be? When you say transcribe, do you actually mean writing it down, or do you mean copping the lick, stealing the lick? I would say, to start out with, I would say, Miles Davis, Impressions, anything from the Kind of Blue album, because it's kind of simple, that's a good place to start. I wouldn't start with like Hank Garland or, Joe Pass or, where it's involved, Now, when I say writing it down, that's a whole other art. That's a whole other thing. Now, when you say transcribe, you mean playing it on the guitar, that's one thing. But to actually write it down, that's another skill, So more on that later. But that's difficult, very, very difficult. Especially if you're a poor reader. How are you going to write it down, Okay. What is involved in leading a band, trio, quartet? How did I learn how to do this? Just by doing it, just jumping in there. You have to have a lot of confidence, You have to know how to count off a tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2. A lot of visual cues, looks, Got to have your jazz faces together, that kind of crap. You just learn by doing it, just jumping in there, I've also done a lot of writing when I lived in Las Vegas for various acts and shit. So, I never had a conducting lesson in my life. I used to watch the other guys go. I guess that means stop. So I don't really know a lot about that, if you're talking about like legitimizing it. But you just do it. It's the more you do it, the better you get. You got to know how to count things off, where it's, you can't go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. No good. Nobody knows when to come in. So you have to have a little bit of confidence, a little BS goes a long way. All right. What solo do you suggest to start transcribing? I think I answered that. See? Solo transcriptions. I think you're talking about solo guitar. I think that's what it means. Joe Pass, I would say, he's the master. You know, there's even a book written by a guy named Roland Leone. He transcribed all the virtuoso records, and they're very, 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 very accurate. I remember I proofread them for him a long, long, long time ago. And, you know, you could learn a lot from those books. I'm pretty sure they're out on, pretty sure it's still published by Mel Bay. Not positive, okay. How do you approach writing a new chord melody? I never write them down, although I should, because I change them all the time. An example, I'm in the mood for love. Here's one way. Now the melody's on the bottom. Okay. And then, you know, I might play it like this too. Okay. I should write them down, but you see, I change them every time I played them. And so, you know, I like that. This is an example of like contrary motion. Okay, that's mostly, you know, bass lines. Okay. Okay. All right, and then the top comes from above. Okay, you can actually even put them in the middle. You know, hard to do off the top of my head, but let me see here. Well, now it's on the top. Okay, now it's on the top again. Here we go. Here's a C major 7. Okay, now. Hard. Okay. So you can put the melody anywhere you want. You just got to make it stick out. Okay. So there's so much to do. I mean, I'll just start by learning the melody of the tune, playing it, you know, single string, add some chords, you know, mix thoroughly, shake, not stir. And, you know, they kind of morph over time. They you know, you find, you take one thing from one tune, you know, and you know that works. And so you see similar changes like that, maybe in a different key. And you gradually build a vocabulary of those type of things, okay? So I never really write them down. Okay. What was it like playing for Buddy Rich? You got a year? It was a drag. I mean, he was a tough guy to work for. It lasted a year, almost a year to the day. It was a tough gig. The book was hard. You know, the music was very, very difficult. And he wouldn't accept anything less than perfection, you know? And so you had to be on your toes all the time. You never knew what he was going to call, which chart. He never let me take the book home so I could learn it. You know, that was no way. You know, you had to sight read it on, you know, when he called it. And it lasted a year, and it was a hard year, you know. I learned a lot from him, actually. You know, his sense of time was incredible. You know, sense of swing was just top shelf. His technique was off the hook. Okay, there'll never be another drummer that could play as good as him, as far as chops and all that. That was just amazing to watch it every night. But being under that pressure all the time, it got old. You're always playing with a knot in your stomach. But I'm glad I did it. Okay. Yes, I still have that. It's actually a 355 mono. It's actually for sale, believe it or not. Yes, I still do have it. Other than your father, did you have other guitar teachers growing up? What made you want to become a teacher? I studied jazz with a guy named Al Stauffer, who was a bass player. Okay, so I studied with him for a long time. Just all concepts. Melodic cells, etc. He turned me on to that. He turned me on to the targeting exercises. I did that. You don't want to become a teacher. You just are. It just came about by people asking me questions like this. And what it takes is a lot of self-examination. You have to go back in your mind and figure out, how did I learn this? And I think that's what makes a good teacher. And having the ability to inspire somebody to practice, that's the most important thing, Because if you can't inspire somebody to go home and play scales for an hour, not a good teacher, Anyway. Okay. Do you have any hobbies? I know you need to be a focused person in order to get better in music, but I do think we all need some kind of secondary activity. Yeah, I always had a hobby. Last one was photography. I still love to take pictures. I built a little dark room in my house, and I developed the film, just black and whites. It was easy to do. So I did that for a long time. I rode a motorcycle for a while. Got tattoos for a while. It was part of the motorcycle groove. Right now, my hobby is drinking. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I think it's really good to have a hobby, But, when I was younger, my hobby was I was constantly playing the guitar or thinking about the guitar or music, I guess it's not really a hobby then, but I didn't have time for anything else. I mean, school and practicing, I wanted to at least practice 6 hours a day. And so I didn't have time for, woodworking or things like that. Photography came much, much later, but I was really into that for a long time. Many years I did that. But I think it's important, if you got the time. I mean, who has the time, I mean, the guitar and music eats up all my time, I like listening to classical music and then try and figure out what the guy wrote, And I used to go to the library and get the scores and see how close I could imagine, as to what it looked like on paper. So that'll do it. I think there's another question in here. I just don't see it here, but I remember it. It said, if I had one question to ask Charlie Parker, what would it be? And that question floored me. I don't see it here. I don't know. Maybe it's somewhere else. Anyway, I think I would ask him what music he listened to growing up. I think that would be the one question. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that he listened to a lot of legit music, classical music. I may have read that somewhere, but that's what I would ask him, who he listened to as well, what saxophone players did he listen to, what trumpet players, etc. What piano players did he like, You know, that's what I would ask them. Okay, I think I got to them all. Okay, so we're going to do this again. You like this stuff? Head over to JB Guitar Workshop. Is that right? I don't even know the name of my own site. Anyway, so if you want more of this kind of insight, come by and sign up. Give it a try. Thank you very much. Goodbye.